of all, I'd like to thank Coach Matt McMahon and his staff for allowing this to happen. They've been really kind, really helpful. L Club, Emily Dixon has been fantastic in preparing, getting in touch with all the players and getting them to come back, and they've been real cooperative. And my hat goes off to Coach McMahon and his staff. You know, the word was out that he wanted to get involved with bringing players back that played here. And Drew Shea, our trainer, called me and said, "Coach, you think we could all get together for a game?" And it was going to be something small. You know, it was 25 years since that SEC championship team, and Drew was our trainer. And then Kermit Davis got involved. Kermit was an assistant on the staff, and he called me, so we just started knocking around. And I went to see Matt, and they embraced it from day one. And it's taken a whole nother level on what we ever thought we were going to be able to do with it. But I think it's great for the program. I think they're also having former players back that played here as well. So it'll be a nice celebration of a championship team and former players as well. And the second thing I want to say is this guy sitting to my left, you know, I think people forget because this team was so good. We were on probation that year. We had 9 scholarship players, and the program had experienced 4 straight losing seasons. The first year, Stromile was a rising senior, so we kind of put a team together because we got the job late the first year. But the second recruiting class that we were going to put together, Stromile was certainly at the top of the list because he was one of the top 5 players in the country. And signing Stromile Swift changed the whole trajectory of the LSU basketball program. It got it in a situation where Louisiana players knew if they came here and played together, you could do something really significant and special. And this guy to my left did us all a favor. And I'll never forget it. And I'm appreciative of it.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Coach. Yes.
Comments you want to make before we take questions?
Man, the decision to come to LSU was probably one of the best decisions of my life. When I got here, I didn't know what to expect, but just being around Coach Brady and Coach Pierre, Coach Tyndall, Coach Davis, like those guys pushed me like to a level that I didn't know that I could reach. And just from that, like I'm just really appreciative of like the staff and like my teammates and the friends that I made here. And it's just been a blessing for me.
You know, when you coach your best player, when your best player is one of your low maintenance players, you don't have to tell him to go to class, you don't have to tell him to work hard, you don't have to tell him to do this, he's on time. That sets the tone of your whole team and your ability to coach the other players. Stromile wasn't a distraction in any way, and he knew he was the best player on the team, and everybody else knew it. But to listen to him talk, he didn't want that to be him. He wanted to be about the team. But again, without him signing with LSU, I don't know what we'd have done, but he changed it. Other Louisiana players followed him, and you know, I'll always be grateful for the decision he made. And I tell him that all the time. I send him texts, and every time I see him on Facebook or in social media, I always tell him that. He's the guy that changed it for us, and I'm glad he's here for this weekend and at this press conference.
Yeah, that was, you know, no, I was just thinking back, like that decision to come here and just to be a part of that team, and then to be able to watch the guys that came from behind, just to see how that impacted just the city of Baton Rouge and the state of Louisiana, just to be able to get, that was always one of my main things. Like I always wanted to see like our best talent stay at home, and to see like guys like Tyrus and Glenn and Taz, like to see those guys like stay here and do something special and to build off of what we started. Like it was always good to see. Like it always made me proud. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Kind of keeping with that, you know, hearing John say that, it reminds me of what Kevin Falk did for football. Like, and you obviously can appreciate that correlation. Do you feel that now? Maybe it's something you didn't feel then.
Like coach don't know this 'cause I never told him. But my recruiting trip, LSU was playing Florida. Florida was the #1 team in the country. That night, I said, I'm coming to LSU. Like I lost my mind. Before I knew it, I had to ran out on the field. I'm hanging on the goalpost. Like it was. I got back to the stands. My mom was like, "Boy, what the hell wrong with you? I ain't never seen you act like that." But it was just like that feeling, being in that atmosphere. Man, it was amazing. And I was supposed to be with my host. I forget who. I think it was Ronaldo Bratton and a couple other guys. I was supposed to be with basketball players. I ended up being with Kevin Falk and Booger McFarland. What's my guy name? God, I can't call his name right now. But I ended up being with the football players, so it was cool.
What is it like to watch that video of you guys? For those of us that were there, obviously it's more magical now in hindsight, right? But just how good you guys were. Like that's the thing that strikes me. John was talking about, size, but the athleticism, just the pace, the ferocity that you guys played with.
I think like going into the season, like I figured like that summer we really put in a lot of work. Like we worked hard that summer. So I knew like me, Jabari, Lamont, Bashir, Torres, Ron, like it's just like we knew that we could compete with anybody in the country, and we just needed that opportunity to just go out there and show people like the practices, like the summer pickup games. Man, they were super competitive. So by the time the season started, like we just knew within ourselves that we could compete with anybody.
Coach, at what point during that season did you know that team could be something special?
Well, I think well, first of all, the camaraderie on that team and the care and concern they had for each other and how they got along was an indication of how connected that team was going to be. Talented, we all knew we were talented. They were talented. Your front line is 6'11", 6'10", and 6'8" with Brian Bashira, and athletic and could play. And I think the common denominator with that team was a competitive spirit that flowed through it. I mean, these guys thought they could beat anybody, and they matched the work ethic of what they said they could do. And when the work ethic matches what it is. But I thought when we went to Hawaii to play in the tournament over there is when we beat Fresno and we won the championship over there in the tournament in Hawaii. And then coming back, we sat on that plane, and Kermit and I and Donnie Tyndall and Butch, we all thought we got something special here. And barring injury or anything major like that, we thought we could have a really good team. And it worked out. And then the game against Arizona here was an indication of we're really good. And so went through the league and had a good year in the league. And then we hit the tournament, and then Brian Bashir hit a shot to beat Southeast Missouri the first game, and then we played Texas, and Mims, a 7-footer, and we were able to beat them. Stromile had a block to change that game. I think it was in Sports Illustrated. You're about 3 feet over the rim, and Mims is 7 foot, and he turned to shoot it, and Stromile had his elbow over the rim, and it's in Sports Illustrated. He was pinned it on the glass, and we won that game. And then we played some guy named Dick Bennett, Wisconsin, and he smoked us pretty good. He had a game plan for us to defend us like other people should have, and they went on to the Final Four. But it was a special year for a group of special guys that really cared about one another.
Yeah, I think that was the turning point too, that Hawaii trip. And then when we came back to play Oklahoma State in New Orleans, I think that was the turning point for like the guys within. Like we really felt like we had something special, like that we could compete with anybody. And man, just like the shout out Coach Davis, man, he was just a defensive genius. Like he always was coming up with different schemes and just different things, and man, he always had us ready to play. And like after that game, I felt like we could compete with anybody.
Well, those guys on the staff now, Donnie Tyndall was the head coach at Tennessee.
Yeah.
Did a great job at Southern Miss, and Kermit Davis's career, he at Middle Tennessee, and then he's the head coach at Ole Miss, and Butch Pierre is one of the best recruiters in the country. So it's a pretty good coaching staff. And I think that's what a head coach ought to do, hire smart people around him, make him look better. And get good players, too. You just sit back, this is fun.
Don't screw it up, right?
Yeah.
John, what do you, and for Stro as well, just what are you most proud of looking back on it now? What do you take pride in? And we'll start with you, Coach, and then Stro.
What was that? What am I?
Most proud of that group and kind of, maybe what they've done or what they've done since?
Well, sometimes as a coach, you coach players, and I always tried to recruit players I thought would fit together. Every player has a role to play. And I didn't need to recruit 10 starters, but back then you knew they would come back for a couple of years and you could build a team. Now you just have to manufacture a team, and it's a different set of circumstances that coaches work within now. But we always tried to recruit a team that I thought would fit to the strengths of each individual player, and it was our job as coaches to put them in situations where they could be successful. And the offense we ran with these guys fit them to a T. It was high-low action and 3 perimeters and 2 posts. And I think that the thing about, there was no jealousy on that team. And if you watch some of the clips, how Stromile and Jabari would respond to each other when each made a great play. I mean, they were Lamont Rowland, the best on-ball defender in the league. Byron Bashira found his place. Torres Bright, a freshman starter and point guard. I mean, those guys were, just dogs. I mean, they came to practice. And it's easy to coach talented players when they want to be better than everybody else, and you don't have distractions. But I think I'm most proud of that, the way that team was talented but got along and cared for one another, and the competitive spirit, and that's the thing that flowed through them. Weren't pointing fingers at anybody. If it wasn't right, we tried to make them look within themselves, and each individual get better. Coaches get better, and then the team gets better. And the friendship that they established, they're all friends today. They stay in contact with each other, and they're excited. And I'm not one of those guys when these guys, I don't follow them every day and try to. They got their own lives to live. Stromile went and did his thing. All the other guys went and did their thing. But what I'm going to do tonight at walk-ons, and I have to throw this out there. Brandon Landry was on that team. He and Jack both. And it's a little disappointing to me that I used to call them walk-ons all the time, and I'm not in the deal. It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, but anyway, and at walk-ons tonight, when the players are there with their families and all, I'm going to say a few things, and then I'm gonna encourage every player to get up and tell about what he's done, where he's been, introduce his family, and then maybe tell a story or two about the time at LSU. And I will say this, and I'll preface this: I'm glad they don't have transfer portals, and you can transfer with no reason and on your own at any time. Because I may have come back after one practice and the locker room could have been vacated. so the rules help me in that regard. I appreciate that.
I think one of the things I was most proud of was the way the team was structured, and for the guys that committed to come here at a time that it wasn't very popular to be here, like those guys, especially the guys from Louisiana, like they could have went anywhere. Like these were some of the top guys in the state at the time, and they decided to stay home. And like some of those guys, I always played against them, and I never had the opportunity to play with them. So it was like to be able to come down and play with those guys, and for them to stay home and play. Like I said, when it wasn't very popular to be here, to come here and do something special, like that's one of the things that I was proud of for the Louisiana guys, like not excluding Jabari and the other guys that wasn't from Louisiana, but just those homegrown guys that could have went anywhere else. They decided to stay here, so it was cool to create a friendship, a bond with those guys, and just go in the trenches with them. Like we went through some battles.
Yep, of coach, and also if you have something to ask Stromile. Is there any parallels from your era, the 2000s era of LSU basketball to, I guess, this version of the team?
You can answer that, Coach. But was that for me or for Coach?
Yeah, if you have anything to add, you can add for sure.
I guess there's some comparisons. If I'm being honest, I don't think the physicality of the way that we played, like the SEC was tough back then. Like it was, like when I came in, I was about 215. I was yeah, soaking wet. So that summer, I knew I had to gain some muscle, gain some weight, and to come back like stronger. Because my first year, like being introduced into the SEC, it was tough. So for me, I don't think that it's the same. The game has changed, so I don't think that is like you can really compare them as far as the physicality of the game, but just the speed of the game, it's definitely sped up, like a lot of threes, a lot of shots. So it's like, I don't know, just for me, I think it was the physicality, just the toughness, and just how tough the SEC, the whole SEC, like you never knew, like every game you went into, it was gonna be a battle. So I don't think it's like that right now.
Well, my thoughts about that is I think basketball in general has become more of a perimeter game than a inside game. You know, shooting 30, 35 threes a night, you know, and that's why I say it's more of a perimeter game. You know, our thing was we're going to throw it inside first and play inside out and shoot rhythm threes as opposed to manufactured threes. But my whole emphasis, even in today's game, if I was back there doing it again, my whole emphasis would be what I always did with every team I tried to coach wherever I coached. We were going to put an emphasis on defending tough without fouling, limiting teams to one shot and rebound the ball. Because I think if that's not your base, 3-point shots and any kind of shooting can come and go. But that's something you can do every single night to keep the game workable. And if you look at our scores, you know, we were I guess we were more deliberate. We did run when we had the opportunity, but it was always opportunistic times to run. Live ball turnovers, long outlet passes. But I wanted to rebound it, limit guys to one shot, not foul, make a team beat me in the half court, make them shoot balls over me, not by me, not go by me and shoot them over us, and then rebound it. And then on the other end of the floor, run an offense where you have opportunities to shoot balls. But I think what we ran, you knew where your shots were coming from. Mm-hmm. You knew who was going to shoot it from where most of the time, because that's the way we structured our offense. And get to the free throw line. You know, I think free throw line is always important in any game. And so, and I go back to what I said when you asked the question. I think the game today is more of a perimeter game than it was when we played. It's not something I would commit to all the time. I still think you can win with a post man. 3 of the 4 Final Four teams threw it to the post. You know, you look back at who played in the Final Four, and all 3 of them had post men that they played through. So I still think there's a place in the game for strong post players. When I do the radio with Chris Blair, I've asked him from time to time, how do you think Shaq would play in this game today? They never throw it to the post. But you know, it's just a different game. But I would still try to do it the same way. Just basic defensive.
They would throw it to Shaq. They would throw it to Shaq.
Huh?
They would throw it to Shaq.
Yeah, they better. They'd be sitting over there by me.
So I obviously know I missed out on some of the great John Brady press conferences, but I was excited to be here today. But I wanted to ask Stromile. You talked about how coming to LSU was one of the best decisions you ever made. And John talks about you and his former players often when we're traveling. And a lot of times it's basketball, but a lot of times he's talking about what you went on to do, whatever it was. And I can tell he's extremely proud of the men you guys became. Is there anything, one or two things that you think now, something happens in life and you think back to Coach Brady was coaching basketball, coaching our team, but there's something that you rely on to go, I learned that from Coach, and it may not be basketball related?
Be nice now, be nice.
That's a good question. So I know everybody doesn't feel the same way. Like everybody's experience wasn't the same. So like coming from high school, like my head coach wasn't the aggressive, like get in your face, hold you accountable. My assistant coach was, but the head coach wasn't like that. So when I first met Coach Brady and Coach Pierre, like he was nice, like told me everything I wanted to hear. But when I got here, man, it was a different story. Like he coached me hard, and I think that was like I needed that, like that toughness and just being held accountable, and that prepared me to go on to the next level. But like definitely being coached hard, being coached the right way, like just like letting me know what I needed to do to get to that next level, and like that was one of the things that I really appreciated.
And I'll add a caveat to that. His mother was a great lady, and I had the support of her. We had a conversation when I on the phone, talked about Stromile early on when he came here, and his mother was behind what we were doing and trying to do for him, and I think that's a big part of the equation. When the parents support what the coaches are trying to do, and he's got no out, nowhere to go, he adjusted. And you could see the change in Stromile from the 12 or 14 games he played his freshman year to his sophomore year when he got comfortable with what he needed to do and accepted that responsibility. Then the talent just came out. And, this guy played really one full year here. One of the best players to ever wear an LSU basketball uniform. And if he'd have stayed here a couple of years, he may have a statue out there. But the time was different then, and players now are free to do what they want to do and leave when they want to leave. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, that's a whole nother discussion. But I had the support of his mother, who was a tremendous lady and saw the bigger picture as opposed to right now, and allowed us to challenge him in coaching, and he responded, and he's a second pick in the NBA draft, SEC Player of the Year, and just a good, humble guy, and he was raised right. And that's one thing I think is huge in this recruiting process as well.
Just wondering what makes you guys feel older, knowing that this is 25 years or that Jabari's son is already in the league.
Yeah, man. I never thought about it like that. I know it's got to be crazy for him to see his son. I'm pretty sure he's very proud to see his son, like just like growing up and like him being able to be there and teach him all the things that he's learned, and for his son to be able to go to that level and like I never thought about myself like having a child that made it to the NBA as well, but that's got to be a cool feeling. So. But it definitely makes me feel old to see that. It's like I remember when he was born, so time flew by.
If it makes you feel old, then I may be ancient. But I hate to say it. Somebody says 25 years ago. I don't even like to say it's 25 years. But it goes by quickly. And I used to try to tell these guys, man, enjoy where you are. Put your feet where you are. Be there where your feet are. Don't be somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Because when it goes by, you can't get it back. And I think they feel good about what they accomplished by being here and doing something that hadn't been done in a long time. But 20 feet flies by, doesn't it, Stroh? Man.
Getting a little gray hair up there. Man.
I got no hair.
Yep. Coach, you mentioned sort of the impact that Stromile had in terms of being a top flight recruit and sort of laying that foundation. Do you think that sort of would be needed for LSU now in terms of just getting that one big time player to help McMahon lay the full foundation?
Well, recruiting has changed a great deal. There's so much more involved in it. Somebody said, "Why'd Stromile come here?" I said, "Well, he liked my good looks, my personality, and my sex appeal, I guess. I don't know, but it's different now. A lot of things involved as opposed to selling him on staying home in Louisiana. He grew up here and all that sort of thing. I think some of that now, with all the other things, the inducements that players have to come to your school, I think all that kind of takes a back seat now. If it had been wide open for Stromile and somebody wanted to throw a lot of money, I don't know what would happen. And I think the decision he made was decisions for the right reasons, not for something maybe short term. And I think some of that is lost in the recruiting now. And I think his allegiance to Louisiana, his allegiance to want to come here at LSU and change the trajectory of the program, that's what we sold him on. I don't know how that would fly now with six-figure dollars floating around. But I think you do need players. You need all league players and a pro on the team in the SEC to have a chance to finish in the top 4 or 5. And I think that's the fundamental thing of any good team is the players, the recruitment of good players. I've always said that good players and good coaching make for really good teams. And if that combination isn't there, it's a struggle. So, I think Coach McMahon, I think they have a better team this year. But the league is so good. I told people you could have a better team and not have a better record simply because the league is so deep. The depth of the league is really good. So, but recruiting is the basis of it. And then you got to recruit well, schedule smart, and coach good. That was my 3 things I tried to always go by. Recruit well, schedule smart, and then coaching will take effect.